Hello, Angelica.
Hello, Adam. Do you know what? It's good to be back.
Isn't it?
But the question is the RHS Chelsea Flower Show actually going to happen?
I know. You look there at the moment and it looks a little bit sparse, but come the 20th of September, there will be plants, there will be amazing gardens, there will be gardeners, there will be designers.
It's a case of third time lucky. It was sadly cancelled in May 2020, postponed in May of this year, and for the first time in Chelsea's long history, it's going to be held in September, which is exciting.
And I am too, because I think it's going to be different. And over the next hour, we are going to bring you some of the delights that you're going to see at this year's RHS Chelsea Flower Show.
But the last time we were here at Chelsea was a couple of years back.
2019. I walked in this morning and I had butterflies.
Even now?
I've been here ever since I was a kid, but it's going to be very, very different because it's September, but it's still going to be a world-class flower show.
You're right, because this is Chelsea. And that means a spectacular week as over 150,000 visitors enjoy the buzz, the gardens, the flowers, the colour, royalty.
Hadn't I been a musician, I would have been a gardener.
Celebrities. Chelsea is back. Do you know what? I can feel it in my bones. This year is going to be fantastic. But for you, Adam, what are you looking forward to that's different?
It's got to be the plants. You know, you think about a normal Chelsea in May, primroses, roses, lupins, alliums, all singing, doing their thing. Fast forward to September, it all feels different. You've got echinacea, rudbeckias, maybe the acers could look superb then, you know? And then added to that, dahlias. So for me, the whole thing is going to feel different. So for instance, all right, there's a fellow I know really well, Simon his name is, and his partner Louise, and they run a nursery called W&S Lockyer. I know them for auriculas, primlas. This year, they're going to turn up at Chelsea and do something completely different.
Well, we sent Rachel to take along to find out exactly what they're doing.
How are you, Simon?
Good morning, Rachel. Very well, thank you.
Brought the sun with me.
Yeah, at last. We've had rain for 2 weeks nearly.
Now, I've come here and you're surrounded by succulents, so what's going on?
It's these that I'm hoping for Chelsea. I've never shown succulents at Chelsea before on their own, and ever. And hoping to get my first gold with succulents.
We're in a very interesting structure here with these sort of slats going across. In fact, we probably look a bit like zebras.
This structure is called a shade hall, and it obviously allows the rain to come in and water everything, but reduces the light levels by up to 50%. In the height of July and August, when it is very hot, it saves that plant from burning, scorching, even drying out.
I know from seeing you at Chelsea over many, many years that you are a complete perfectionist. Your auricular stand is always immaculate. With your first time showing succulents at Chelsea, how are you trying to aim for that same level of perfection? You're talking about a gold medal already.
I think for me, it's trying to have a range of different types of succulents. I think to have a display with a lot of variety, because there's different structures and shapes and sizes and colours, I'm hoping to wow the judges with a nice range of different types.
I feel like a kid in a sweet shop standing here. Show me a few of your favourites.
Let's start with the aeoniums, the first of the alphabet. The most common aeonium is Aeonium Schwarzkopf. Now, she's a very dark, very black aeonium. A good plant, but always tends to grow up on a stem. So the next one would be another hybrid, Aeonium Velour. Now, this is a great plant, You don't really ever see the stem because it produces so many rosettes.
You know what it reminds me of?
Yep.
Those swimming caps from the 60s and 70s.
Yes.
That, you know, that mothers and grandmothers were wearing when I was a kid, with all these flowers stuck all the way around it.
Moving on from the aeoniums, we're going to move on to the echeveras.
OK.
Now, there's many types of echeveras, really is. There's thousands of types now. But this is a carunculated type of echevera. This one's called Etna. A lot of people say it looks like warts growing on their leaves, or brains.
These sort of bobbly bits on the top of the leaf.
These are the new in thing at the moment. A lot of people like these. A lot of people don't. It's a bit like Marmite, really. But I like them, and they do look different, and it does make people have a double take at them and go, wow, that's different.
I'm not sure it's for me. I think it might be, as you said, it's a Marmite thing.
A bit like Marmite, yes.
So you've shown us some aeoniums, some echeveras, so I think people might know those. What are you bringing to Chelsea that's a bit more unusual in terms of succulents?
Quite a few, really. Right, let's start on Graciela ovata Sunset Magic. Very unusual money plant because it always has reds and yellows and oranges. And obviously, hopefully, another plant, if we have a lot of hot weather, the colours on that will be completely different. You'll have bright reds, bright oranges, with the yellow and the green. And it's one that you can actually bring in the house and have on your windowsill in the winter months.
It's interesting, actually, because I've got 2 teenage daughters and succulents are so fashionable. I mean, they're all growing them. But I notice there's a little one down there, which is familiar to me because we're busy killing that at home. It doesn't look nearly as happy as yours does. What's that little one
It's
there?
funny you should say that because when I go to the flower shows and I have this on the stand, the young children do like to buy this one. And the simple reason is, what do you think it looks like?
It's sort of got a jelly bean kind of thing going
You've just
on.
nailed it. Its common name is jelly beans.
No.
Yes, yes. Latin name is Sedum rubotinctum aurora. If I have this in full sun for a week or two, the colours become bright oranges and bright reds. If I didn't have it in the sun, Rachel, it would just stay greeny and yellowy.
It is such an interesting characteristic of succulents, isn't it? That they change colour depending on how much light they have.
And most definitely. The stronger the sunlight, the better the colour.
I can see, Simon, that these are all your babies. You can feel the love standing in here. So a September Chelsea might not happen again. How's it going to feel for you, do you think?
Stressful, possibly, but I'm really looking forward to it. And let's just hope that the judges think it's worth a gold medal.
Oh, bless, you can see how important that gold medal would be.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he's a passionate fella, you know, and...
But tell me about the bowler hat.
Yeah, I mean, it's an ode, really, to his old man. I mean, his old man passed away a few years ago, but they would both wear the hat. And you can see from that, he's a character. He's helped me out, Simon, a few times over the years.
Oh,
great lad,
good
great
heart.
lad. Yeah.
I can't get my bearings. I've never seen Chelsea like this.
So that's the Great Pavilion. I know it doesn't look great at the moment, but have a look at this. This might help. I know, it's upside down. Before you say anything, that's Main Avenue. That's where we're stood. And then after that, most of the show gardens are up there.
Where will the Florence Nightingale garden be?
So that is... it's there, which is just there.
Shall we go and have a look?
Come on. Hey, you are now in a Chelsea show garden. You're in it.
Look at it!
I know. Doesn't look much, does it? So you've got 10 metres across the front there,
right,
and 22 metres long.
It's really vast to be able to fill this space.
And if you're anything like me, all right, so you carry this dream, probably for a couple of years, and then you arrive on day one, and you look, and then you want to go home. But then you get stuck in, and by the end of day one, you're back in the saddle, you are rocking, you are rolling.
And that vision just starts coming alive, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, do you know what? I went to meet the team behind this space, the Florence Nightingale Garden, to find out more about their inspiration and plans to make this spot a thing of beauty. I've come to Westminster to meet Dame Christine Beasley, former Chief Nursing Officer and a trustee of the sponsors of the garden, the Burdett Trust. And we're going to be meeting at the Florence Nightingale Museum. Chris, we know that Florence was an extraordinary woman, so I hardly need to ask the question on why you chose her as the theme for the garden.
It was her 200th anniversary of her birth last year, and we wanted to really celebrate the remarkable woman who was the founder of modern nursing. She was a social reformer, but we didn't just want to look back. We wanted to look forward and say, actually, nurses today are following in her footsteps.
But not many people know that she had a real affinity and passion for flowers and nature, didn't she?
Oh, she did, yes. She had an amazing flower collection here in the Florence Nightingale Museum where we are. There's a good collection of her pressed flowers.
I used to press flowers as a little girl. Bring back memories.
She, I think, linked it very strongly to the power of nature. She was interested in them not just because, obviously, flowers can be used medicinally. She saw that people who were exposed to nature, actually their mental health, their psychological well-being improved.
Now, Chris, I know you're keen to preserve the garden, so what happens after Chelsea?
We were really, really keen that it should have a life after a week in Chelsea. And what was more fitting, really, than here at St Thomas's, because this is where she set up her first nursing school, the Nightingale School of Nursing. St Thomas's were very, very keen to have a garden, so it's going to be replanted and re-established here.
To find out about the plans for the garden, I'm meeting designer Robert Myers at Chelsea Physic Garden, a place packed with medicinal plants. Robert, tell me about the design of your garden.
She's obviously really well known for her time in Crimea and the amazing things she did there during the war. But in a way, her legacy is much more about what she did afterwards. We actually focused on her work in hospital design. She came up with this idea about designing hospitals as pavilions, so the Florence Nightingale pavilion layout, where you have these pavilions connected by corridors, and the idea is that all the patients get views of open space, lots of light, lots of fresh air. She kind of understood the importance of fresh air for recovery. And so in a way, the garden is, as it were, a modern interpretation of a Florence Nightingale pavilion.
Can you give us a sneak preview about what plants you are going to use in the garden?
The key plant we wanted to include was the foxglove, because Florence Nightingale said in a parlour game that it was her favourite flower. It also happens to be a medicinal plant, so she probably would have used it. And of course, foxglove is a spring flower, but we're hoping to use it in the garden in September. Even if it's just as a seed head, we think it's really important to have it in there, and we think that's fine because that's what gardens look like in September. We wanted to bring in, for example, some of the plants that she had in her pressed flower collection. We also wanted to bring in some of the plants that perhaps she might have had in her nurse's bag, so plants that were used medicinally in Victorian times. We're definitely hoping to have this plant here, which is echinacea, which you'll be familiar with. We all use it against the common cold. Hamamelis virginiana, which is the witch hazel, used for skin complaints to this day in herbal medicine.
Was there anything specific that you saw in the museum that you wanted to portray in your garden?
One of the things that really caught our eye was her collection of pressed flowers that she made as a child. And we were really keen to use as many of these as we could within the garden. So we have got some of those flowers in the show garden. Where they don't work in September, we've incorporated them as part of a design for the boundary walls as sort of silhouettes of those pressed flowers. So, for example, this one, which is the Peony tenuifolia, which is this lovely thing that actually grows in Turkey near to Scutari, where Florence Nightingale was during the Crimean War. Flowers in May and June, so it wouldn't work in September, but we have got it silhouetted on the wall, together with a whole lot of sort of reproductions of her letters. When she came back from Crimea, she was quite ill in later life and spent a huge number of hours in bed writing letters furiously to all sorts of people campaigning for health reform. This is one, for example, which she wrote in 1899. Dear Miss Gordon, who was her matron at the St Thomas's Nursing School, my best wishes for you and our gathering, her pupils. God bless them. I have failed in getting roses in pots. I hope these cut roses will bring the best of good wishes on every petal. Ever yours and theirs, your pupils, Florence Nightingale. No. I think her character really comes out through her writing. Sometimes she's quite messy and crossing things out, and her pen runs out and she goes into pencil. Her character is all there.
Robert, after waiting over a year, you must be so happy to finally get your design out there.
Yeah, I can't quite believe it, actually. We started designing this garden back in 2019, so over 2 years ago. We're now celebrating, obviously, the 201st anniversary of the birth of Florence Nightingale, but, a bit like the Olympics and the Euros, I think we all got used to that. Really excited and just can't wait to get going.
Florence Nightingale was a remarkable woman. She was a pioneer and just well ahead of her time.
And I think for me, that association with plants and well-being, it's just like we've been playing catch-up ever since. Well, what I love is that garden is going to be rebuilt at St Thomas's. You're also stood in a garden that's going to be rebuilt once it's been built and then taken down again. So this garden has been designed by Sarah Ebley and it's sponsored by the Bible Society and it's all inspired by Psalm 23.
The Lord is my shepherd, which takes me back, Adam, actually, because my grandmother was a really spiritual woman, and that was one piece of the Bible that she would read to me every single night. And it has wonderful imagery about nature and that spirituality. If you're spiritual, you know that connection it gives you. So I think this garden's going to be really special.
Yeah, you sucked me in the moment you were talking about your nan. It's a beautiful memory, in a sense, isn't it?
No, exactly. And Sarah's incredible, isn't she? The most decorated designer here at Chelsea.
She certainly is. And I was lucky enough to catch up with her a couple of weeks ago to find out exactly how it feels to create a garden here this time of year. September, Chelsea, for you?
Oh, I love it. September is my favourite month. May is the first flush of perfect growth, you know, that rich, green, new growth. Well, you know, September, it's all getting into its PJs and getting ready for bed, and that's equally as charming, and it's a part of gardening. I associate those deep, what I call slightly grubby, rusty colours with the flowers, the heleniums, the rudbeckias, the hydrangeas, so rich. The whole thing has a kind of hue of almost rusty steel for me. That kind of is the material for September.
I mean, the concept for this garden, very, very different. How did you react to it?
It's Psalm 23, and I reread it. It was like, wow, it's so visual. And actually, it's so me, because although I'm not a churchgoer, I'm deeply spiritual. Yeah. And I'm deeply spiritual. You know, nature, if you like, is the thing that I really am supported by.
Where did this one take you?
Because I could see this relevant to my life, I chose a landscape that I grew up in, which is Dartmoor in Devon. And I used to sort of ramble up onto the moor and sit on the tors, and there's this dramatic landscape, you know. On a good sunny day, everything looks lovely and refreshed, but you know that for most of the winter, you know, it's got its head down and all trees are all pointing out in one direction. And life's tough out on Dartmoor. Yeah. There is both difficulty and reward. And so it seemed relevant. It's a little naturalistic piece about a landscape that's important to me.
Sarah's garden is at the centre of a nationwide campaign by the Bible Society. Organiser Hazel can tell us more.
We really wanted to take Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, to Chelsea because everybody knows it, everybody loves it, but really never before has it been so pertinent, has it? You know, it absolutely speaks to what we've been going through in the last 18 months.
And so what are you hoping from that? What will it achieve?
We hope that people will create Psalm 23 inspired community gardens. Wouldn't it be great just to come together across communities and build beautiful spaces that will last forever?
The scheme is already taking root. Here in Tadley in Hampshire, priest Jill Sakakini created her own Psalm 23 inspired garden. Jill, it looks really beautiful, but why labyrinth?
Well, labyrinth because really interested in the shape of it. So it's been a traditional Christian symbol, but it's also been overlaid with other forms of spirituality. So it's quite meaningful to lots of people. And it speaks about journey and about pilgrimage. And as we were thinking about this garden in response to the Psalm 23, this feels like the meadow part of walking along with the Good Shepherd.
And that connection, I suppose, of, you know, a shepherd tending his flock to a gardener looking after his garden?
Absolutely. Being attentive, watching, waiting for things to come up, cutting back, pruning. It's all about life, really, isn't it?
What was the reaction when people started to sort of come back out and look at what was going on?
It did embody hope, actually, because first there was nothing to see, and then gradually, day by day, month by month, there was this amazing growth and colour.
I think for me, that's one of the wonderful things with everything that's been going on in the world. You know, gardens will just come up and they will carry on doing their thing.
Yeah,
The impact of Sarah Ebley's Chelsea garden won't just be limited to the show. I think one of the lovely things about Sarah's garden, it won't just look beautiful, but it's going to live on. I know, I've magically moved from a church to a building site. It's being rebuilt here at Winchester Hospice. You need to use your imagination. I think it's going to look incredible. I'm now going to meet Maddie, who is the matron on the palliative care team here at the hospital.
I think patients, families, staff and indeed anyone that walks into this garden will be blown away. What patients tell us repeatedly is, I want to be outside. What do you miss about being at home? I miss my garden. And the benefits of what we call the natural health service as opposed to the National Health Service is the power of being outside for people.
And you're making me smile because I think right from being that high, for me, you know, gardens were a safe place and somewhere that I wanted to be and somewhere I've drawn to.
What this garden will provide is what we love about life, and that is what the focus is. It's what's good about life, not what's bad about life.
You've just given me goosebumps. And you've said one thing you probably don't even realise you said it. Gardens are what are good about life. I'm not going to forget that, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
I mean, it's such a lovely thought. Gardens are what is good about life.
You're right, it really got me. It touched a nerve.
Yeah.
But what you know also about Sarah is she'll turn up here and nail it. That garden will be beautiful.
Yeah, no, definitely. And now that we've moved away from Main Avenue and away from the hustle and bustle, and we're just sitting here in nature amongst the plants, they matter too, and nurseries have had to adapt. Now, I know you've been keeping an eye on some chrysanthemums, a plant that blooms in September, and you went to meet Trevor Lawrence and Martin Flint, didn't you?
I did. So they run Chrysanthemums Direct, and these guys have already won quite a few gold medals. And I was lucky enough to catch up with them as they were preparing for the show. How are we, chaps?
Fine, thank you.
I presume they were all picked for me, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. You didn't know we cared, did you?
I've just walked past a load of greenhouses. How much have you got under glass here?
We've got 6 acres.
How many cut flower in a year?
We sell about 1.25 million stems.
That's absolutely incredible. So everything you do on site here?
Yeah, we do the whole process from selecting the clones that we originally get right through to producing the finished product with the cut flowers.
It's a cut flower business that goes into sort of supermarkets, but then you arrived, Martin.
I came along and set up Chrysanthemums Direct to sell young plants directly to the public.
Chrysanthemums Direct was about being able to actually buy the plants and grow them yourself.
Yes.
So we've come in here, it's a lot darker. How do you control the light throughout the year?
Basically, we control them with lights or blackout, or we just kid them. So we kid them, it's September conditions.
How many flowers are in here?
There's about 80,000 stems.
How long would that supply a cut flower?
About 3 weeks.
So this is 3 weeks. And this is all done by hand?
Yeah.
How many people are doing all this?
We have 7 full-time staff.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I admire you two, or I think you're absolutely crackers. I suppose the variety of these plants, is that something that's you've got to over a period of time?
So every year we select probably the best 10 plants.
Yeah.
And that's how we really stop virus and we keep the quality as good as it is.
What, so someone who goes all through these acres and selects 10 odd plants, which become, in a sense, the mother plants. So one mother plant could produce how many plants?
Up to about 100,000.
So that selection, you could say, was a little bit important.
Yeah, you've got to make sure you don't get it wrong right at the beginning.
The first Chelsea, you know, back 2009.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, to get gold at the first Chelsea, fantastic.
Guys, how many gold medals now?
So there's 9 Chelsea gold medals at the moment.
So this is double figures.
Yeah, the Big 10.
What would you, in a sense, call that perfect bloom?
Judges like to see good shape. If it's an incurved, it needs to be incurved.
Yeah.
It needs to be nice and clean and undamaged.
Yeah.
Good foliage, which is always important. But there's so many different types of chrysanthemums these days, so many different colours and styles.
Out of all the plants you could choose, why chrysanthemums?
The thing is, when you get them right, they're just amazing. I mean, and every year you can improve.
It'd be lovely to understand now how, you know, the cut flower works against the bits that we all get to take home and put in our gardens. So, guys, this is completely the other end of what we've looked in. When did you think, do you know what, I'm going to let people grow these little beauties as well?
Basically, we thought the public were getting a raw deal. They were being given dodgy plants, and at the end of it, they weren't producing a good flower. So we thought, well, we give them a nice plant, virus-free, they'll come back and buy more. And that's what's happened.
I've got this fascination with seeing these mother plants. Is it all right?
Yeah, we're going to have a look now.
Cool. So this is it?
Yes.
It wasn't quite what I was expecting. So one of those plants will produce...
Up to 100,000 cuttings.
Up to
2 years' time.
People at home are going to be looking at this and going, really? You're winding us up?
In about 2 months' time, they'll start having shoots.
Yeah.
And then we keep taking the shoots and we keep multiplying from the shoots. So next year we'll get about 250 plants for each one, which will go to flower trial next year. And if everything's okay, the following year they'll produce about 100,000 of each plant from that original plant.
The attention to detail that you do, that's got to be why you win gold medals, isn't it?
I think attention to detail is the right words.
I have got everything crossed for Trevor and Martin. I really want them to get that 10th gold. But it's not just about the gold medals and the competition. They're going to be feature gardens here that have a message for us all.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the good things about the show is some of those gardens carry those underlying messages. Our very own Arit Anderson is building her first one at Chelsea. Last time I spoke to her, she sounded just a little bit nervous, but she's rocking up today to start, and I'm going to find out exactly how she feels.
Exciting.
So I will see you later on.
Send them a love.
I will do. Hello, my dear.
Oh!
There you go. It was a big hug.
Sending the hug.
A couple of metres away. You all right?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Better now I'm seeing you.
Bless you. Because last time we spoke, you were a little bit worried, weren't you?
I was a bit, actually. It was a bit, all of a sudden, this overwhelming moment hit me. And then we had a chat. I was like, come on.
You'll be all right.
But now I'm here, I've got to go, you do it.
But so this garden, though, is what? Ultimately, RHS and the One Show.
Yeah.
And for you, you're on this roller coaster, you're not getting off.
No.
What are you looking forward to?
Do you know what now? I'm just looking forward to having the team here and really starting.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of coming off of pre-production. There's only so much you can think about, and now you've got to see it happen.
I wish, really, for people that are home and watching, that they could be in a Chelsea designer's head at the moment, because it's like, I think it's probably like a cupboard that's just lots of stuff bouncing all off all the walls.
The hub's there already, and it's all of a sudden gone reality.
But I think this place, without sounding over the top, is a place of dreams, you know? I came here, you know, as a youngster, I wanted to come here, I came here, I built here. It's a special memory.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that you need to just hold on to, because at times you will want to go home. I promise you.
I will,
Yeah,
I'm
you
sure.
will.
But you make sure you come by, won't you?
I will. I promise you I will. Best of luck, kid.
Thank you.
All right, I better go back and find Angelica. By the way, Angelica sends her love.
Oh, bless her. Thank
All right?
you. Take
See you soon,
care.
sweetheart. Bye, 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 bye.
Oh. You can catch up with Arit and the garden this week on The One Show.
Hello.
Hello. I have found the triangle.
You found the biggest garden on the site.
Notoriously difficult for designers, I hear?
Yeah, it is, because the other gardens have got boundaries, and that makes it easier to sort of create atmosphere. And that's what Chelsea Gardens are all about. If you imagine you move around here, you can view, and sometimes all the way across the garden, and it tends to sort of water down the feeling. So this takes some pulling off.
Well, if Arit thinks she's got it bad, David Dodds has, because he's designing this very spot. And it's going to be highlighting the Queen's Green canopy, isn't it?
It's all about celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee and getting us to plant more trees, which, for me, has got to be a good thing.
So he is aiming, David, to plant 40 trees in the triangle.
Yeah. Which actually, in reality, you look around and go, planting 40 trees can't be that difficult. You know, the man does it for a living. But across this site, you can't dig down everywhere. So even something that may be looked upon as being reasonably simple, not that easy.
Well, David certainly is a magician then. Can't wait to see it.
And you can find out how David gets on with his trees next week in our coverage.
Now, just behind us over there is going to be another feature garden, is that right? The COP26 garden.
There is, and it's all about the RHS helping to raise awareness how we as gardeners can help with climate change.
Well, here's Marie-Louise Agius with more.
I am Marie-Louise Agius, and I co-designed the RHS COP26 garden with my practice, Bolston Agius, and my design partner, Michael Bolston. COP26 is the United Nations Climate Change Conference, which is going to be held this year in Glasgow in November. It addresses climate change, which is something that we are hearing more and more about. So today we are down here seeing John Wheatley, and we are coming to really check on the progress of how some of the plants that John is growing for us are getting on. Our garden addresses, in a sort of cyclical fashion, a number of the issues that we face as a result of climate change. It's a large plot, it's a 20 by 20 plot, and we address it in 4 quarters: decline, adaptation, mitigation, and balance, and show that you can still have a really beautiful garden that people recognise and emote with, because actually what research by the RHS has shown is that actually quite often people don't want to see something very different. They love the classic English country garden. And actually there are very, very good plants out there that can tie into that brief and yet hopefully be more resilient going forwards. We start with decline. And decline is essentially the current status quo of a lot of the gardens and landscapes that we know about. The fact that we don't capture enough of our water, that it runs off and floods areas, and the fact that all of the concrete and the steel materials that we use are not enormously sort of environmentally friendly or actually conducive to working with the sort of climatic changes that we're coming across. And actually, believe it or not, we are growing weeds for that garden, because a lot of those sort of degraded areas quite often get taken over by pioneer species, and weeds are a pioneer species. They take advantage of the opportunities. The next area that we go to is adaptation, which is really looking at what happens with the increased temperatures, potentially 2 to 4 degree increase in temperatures, the situation that we're finding of massive drought, massive rainstorms, and how you can adapt to that. So we're looking at plants that have got better sort of natural capacity for doing that. We've got a plant here in front of us called Euphorbia mercenites, little one in flower here, and we hope that some of these others will be in flower at the time. And as you can see, it's almost got sort of succulent-like leaves, so they retain a lot of the moisture. And we're looking at almost a sort of Mediterranean garrigue-style planting, where we have elements like raising the planting up so that when those crazy rainstorms come, you can actually drain the water away quickly and then are still left with a sort of friable material for the plants to grow in. The next area that we go to is mitigation, which is really where we come down to how you can use design to help combat some of the issues that we are experiencing as a result of climate change. Better management of water, increased biodiversity, increased pollinators. And what we've got here is the wildflower turf, which of course is fantastic for bees and wildlife and pollinators. And we're growing it in these tricks of the Chelsea trade, is we're growing it in these crates here. And as you can just see here, we've got essentially the lining underneath it, which means that we then lift it out and we actually then put it together almost like a jigsaw when you actually come to put it on the garden. Because of course, if you had real wildflower turf and you rolled it up, you would crush all the beautiful flowers. So, you know, these are the sort of staging part of the theatre that is Chelsea.
we've got a lot of your plants in here, and
Oh, the dahlias, the dahlias, the dahlias. So our fourth and final quarter is balance, which is the one that I think most people will relate to in terms of a garden. And it really is a culmination of many of the features that we've looked at previously in decline and adaptation and mitigation. And obviously being in September, we've got this amazing opportunity to have wonderful plants like these dahlias that you see in front of us here. And certainly some of these dahlias, which have got the open heads on them as well, are fantastic for pollinators, which obviously then ties into the mitigation with the wildflower meadow. What I really hope that people take away from the garden is the fact that you don't have to have huge, great big tracts of land, swathes of land, to be able to make a difference. That actually every single one of us, even if you've got a window box on your ledge in a flat in the city, if you plant that up and you get flowers and you watch the bees or you watch the pollinators come to it, you make that little bit of difference, that it's down to all of us as individuals, not down to somebody else.
I think Mary-Louise sums it up so eloquently. Climate change affects us all, so everybody has to be part of the solution.
totally and utterly, and we all seem to understand now it's a big, big deal, and a lot of gardeners, they know, you know, and they're starting to think about how to garden and how we move forward, but we all need to do our bit.
Well, the RHS are taking it seriously, and a couple of weeks ago, I caught up with the new RHS president, Keith Weed, to find out more about what they're planning here at Chelsea. Keith, why is it important for the RHS to sponsor a garden for COP26?
Well, I think COP26 is a huge focus right now for not just the UK, but around the world. And climate change and the importance of the environment has never been so high in our minds. Gardens could do something about this. With nearly a third of urban spaces being gardens, if we garden well, we can have a really positive impact on the environment. And you won't be surprised, you're going to see quite a lot of that at Chelsea Flower Show anyway. I started in gardening when I was 10 or 11, and it was with a vegetable patch or a corner of a vegetable patch in my parents' garden. From an early age, I was cooking, and growing vegetables was a part of that. And then from vegetables to plants, etc.
I mean, it reminds me of when I was younger. Growing cress would make me so inquisitive. I want to know how food grew and where it came from.
All that is part of connecting with nature. And I think this is the way to inspire and engage people in the environment. I think if you start understanding how things grow,
exactly,
if you start understanding how nature works, if you start getting enjoyment and the feedback loop of seeing things grow.
So we've had Tatton Park and Hampton Court, but tell me, how much work went into those flower shows to make them safe?
For RHS Hampton Court, we already had quite a lot of restrictions in place, and of course inside people were wearing masks. We reduced the numbers, so we had the numbers down, capped at 100,000. That worked well, and we didn't have any feelings of people being concerned. In fact, to be perfectly honest, it's right the opposite. Everyone was just so excited. RHS Tatton Park was a step forward again, because by then it had opened up further. Now, so what does all that mean for the RHS Chelsea Flower Show? Yes, of course, we're going to encourage people wearing masks inside. We're going to have more external catering so people can be outside more. And of course, it's very much an outside sort of show. So I think, dare I say, it's going to feel absolutely great.
Now, you're coming to the end of your first year as the president of the RHS. What do you see as the challenges you need to face and address as coming into the future?
What we've seen this last year, if anything positive's come out of this challenging year, and there haven't been very many things, has been a boom in gardening. We've seen 10% more people getting involved. We now have more than 30 million gardeners. And when I say gardeners, that's stretching from people who have gardens or window boxes, etc., or houseplants, a huge boom in houseplants.
So this year, what is Chelsea doing to bring on some changes?
Well, I think it's very much going to be playing into what people have been doing this last year. So how do you garden when you don't have a garden? So, of course, containers, houseplants, balcony, all these are areas which people already are very much involved in, but we've never actually sort of pulled them out as categories. So I think this is quite exciting because it's going to put a spotlight on what we've all been doing and then what excellence about. The great thing about the RHS Chelsea Flower Show, it is you are going to see excellence in horticulture, wherever it might be.
It was really lovely to meet Keith and talk to him and find out what they're doing here at Chelsea to be more inclusive.
Yeah, and I think that diversity of what they're doing, I mean, in that sense, this, from what I understand, is where the houseplants are going to be. They're going to build these series of sets and then plant them accordingly, you know, for different rooms, different plants, which I think, that's great.
It's going to be brilliant.
It really is.
Really good. And it got me thinking.
Right.
So please welcome to Angelica's Houseplant Challenge.
If this is mastermind, this is not my specialist subject.
Relax, your job's not on the line. We're going to start off with Sansevieria superba. Which plant is that? And where would you find it? And tell me a bit about it.
Right, so actually, that's all right, actually, because that is mother-in-law's tongue, so that's that one. I think that would be probably good for middle of the room. Africa, originally where it comes from, and actually will put quite a lot of oxygen into a room overnight. And I think that's one of the great things about houseplants, is actually what they give back.
Exactly.
So was that all right?
That was brilliant. See? You're nailing this. Let's move on to the Hoya.
Right.
Which is?
That one.
Correct.
Yeah.
Where would this ideally be placed?
So,
which room?
It loves humidity, so I would shower with that plant.
I'm imagining that in my head.
Yeah, don't want to upset you. But yeah, so love humidity, definitely, so probably bathroom.
This is a Cattleya obifolia.
Or prayer plant. Jungle floor.
South America.
Yeah, shady conditions.
Brilliant.
So doesn't need a lot of light, so wouldn't put it on a windowsill. I would keep it sort of in a shady space indoors. So I'm pleased that's over. But houseplants for me seem to be the gateway for so many people, you know, maybe into gardening later on. Especially, they're cool with young people.
Yeah, and on that note, we have found a group of students in Putney who have researched and found out the benefits of how plants indoors can help us. They're bringing their findings to Chelsea, and we sent Arit along to take a look.
I'm meeting Headmistress Susie.
Hello, Arit. Welcome to Putney High School.
I'm very excited to be here.
Coming to our Futures Hub.
Susie, it looks fantastic in here. It's hardly a classroom, is it? It looks amazing.
What we've tried to do at Putney is bring nature into the classroom, which really impacts positively on our students' well-being.
We really all love plants, and I think we know that they're good for us, but you've been working on the science, haven't you?
Yes. We got our original research from NASA, actually, about the plants that help you to flourish.
Yeah.
And the impact of the plants that you see here have improved the air quality and the humidity in classrooms.
Who has actually carried out the experiments here, Susie?
Well, the students.
They decided to use 3 classrooms. The maths room would be full of plants, the English room would have a photographic mural of a garden, and the psychology room would be the control with nothing in it. It was the first educational study of its kind by a school.
We knew within the first month that we were making a difference because the air quality readings showed a 10% improvement in the classrooms which had plants in. It made our students feel calmer, it made them feel more focused, they felt better about themselves, and so all in all it's improved way more than we thought it could do.
Should we go and speak to some of the students then?
Yes, come and meet them.
Yeah, that would be great. What a fabulous place to study in. Does it actually make a difference?
I would definitely say that it does. I think it's really helped improve everyone's focus, and having such vibrance around the school really helps your creativity sort of go wild. So I've loved having the plants here.
Yeah, the same. I mean, I think it's just so homely. It's so nice to walk into an environment that you feel comfortable in.
I really like the fact that you said it makes you feel home from home, because that means you must be genuinely relaxed. Can you show me some of the actual experiments that you've done?
We've used this. It measures the air quality and the humidity in the room. So this says good down there, and that's the World Health Organization's guidance on air quality. So we can see that in this room, it's a good place to work. And yeah, and then we have the permanent ones up there as well.
Have you noted that certain plants have better results?
Well, all these plants help purify the air, and they do that, really well. We chose, I think, the 13 best plants to do this in our lessons. So for maths, for example, I think we put all of them in the classroom. So that just really helps create, a nice, healthy environment for us.
But which ones do you really like?
I personally really like the snake plant. It's one of the best ones for purifying the air.
Well, I really like all the succulents, and apparently they're not as good as the other ones for air quality, but I also think that just the look of plants, I mean, that's kind of more commonly known, but the look of plants really helps create a nice environment as well.
I feel like I'm coming interrupting this lovely silent Zen moment here. Or that wonderful drawing you're doing. Do you actually look after the plants here?
Yeah, I've taken care of some of the devil's ivy in here. I really like them because they're really easy to propagate as well.
I really love the fact that you're involved in propagating the plants, not just watering them, so you really are taking care of them.
I think taking care of the plants really helps you get a closer focus on the plants, and especially carrying forward into the artwork, you can see the patterns, the colours, and really feel more of a connection to the nature, which again helps us calm down and take focus away from the stress of being at school.
Have you found that you've done more gardening at home since looking after the plants at school?
On the last day of term, I actually took a cutting from one of the plants here, and I've been propagating it at home. So it's been a really interesting experience, kind of looking at the greenery around us and really taking care of it.
I have to say, I am really impressed in how you've all embraced this so much, not only at school, but you've also taken it home. It really is absolutely fantastic. I have to say, it has been fascinating talking to the students. They are engaged. I can see how they are enjoying actually looking after the plants, and it's clearly helping them.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled and I'm so proud because together they've all flourished. You know, one plant is one student. It's their lungs. The air quality has improved 53% from the street, 10% in the classroom. They feel better, they learn better, and as you can see, they're really connected with nature. And what we want to do is share this at Chelsea.
It's been fascinating here, I have to say. You've done a cracking job, and I really can't imagine any school not wanting to do the same.
That is such a fantastic project. And if you're heading to the show and would like to check out what the guys are up to, then they are going to be based in the Discovery Zone here in the Great Pavilion, which is being built around us.
Literally being built. Half of it has been. And look, that gets repeated over your head.
It's huge.
Yeah, and you'll love this.
Go on.
Right, so if you happen to have 500 red London buses kicking around,
just lying about,
you could park them all in here.
I love a stat. Gives it perspective.
It does. But also it gives you a sense of the infrastructure that goes on here before the plants even rock up.
No, and as ever, on Monday the 20th, the Great Pavilion will be filled with wonderful flowers that we all love.
You're looking forward to it, aren't you?
I am.
The Chelsea Great Pavilion will be the place to find. Colour, spectacle, heavenly scent, beauty. And guiding us all through it, the Queen of the Great Pavilion, our very own Carol Klein.
It's a clean one.
You know, you walk through here empty. Imagine many places in the world where you could see so many different species of flora under one roof.
No, it's incredible. But you know, one thing I love, Adam, is a cut flower. And under this very roof, there's going to be a little bit of frisson as the rules of entry for the floristry competition have changed, which means more florists will be able to compete, and that gives more people a chance to shine.
And there's one fella that we've been keeping an eye on, is Larry Walsh.
That's right, and we caught up with him as he prepared a floral display for a wedding at Kew Gardens.
My name's Larry Walsh, and I'm one of the UK's foremost floral designers. Some of our clients include Adele, Rihanna, Stella McCartney. The list goes on. Today we're preparing for a wedding which is taking place at Kew Gardens tomorrow. So we're building the designs here in the workshop. We then take those and we finish those on site when we actually get there. We work with the client very closely to create their designs. I always say that we're here to create the most beautiful design that they've imagined. We're always working the day before, we're always working with a perishable product, and we're always working to really tight time constraints to bring all of those things to life in a matter of hours. Floriography, which is the Victorian language of flowers. So all of those flowers, dependent on their colour and their variety and type, have a meaning. Ami, for example, has a symbolism referring to sanctuary and warmth. Achillea, which we're just about to add in here, symbolises healing. And then, obviously, roses, undying romance. Flexing, so it's where you fold all of the petals back one by one. It's quite time-consuming, but it just kind of gives them a slightly different look and feel. Floristry, it's not necessarily just about flowers, it's about transforming a space. It's about taking somewhere that is blank or empty and giving it a personality. And in doing that, a lot of the time, it's the textures, the colours, the scale, everything that you can imagine that you can put into a space in the same way you would interior design, but for a 24-hour period and for that snapshot little moment. Very happy with how this is coming together ahead of tomorrow. We've started marking out all of the foliage that we're going to utilise here. We'll add in some of those hardier flowers into the designs, and then tomorrow we'll slide in those that are more delicate once we get into position, and then bring the entire thing to life. For me, Chelsea Flower Show is particularly special. This year we're working with the theme of our planet and our world, looking at the use of single-use plastics and how they're affecting our environment. That hopefully will create a thought-provoking installation that looks at taking sustainable techniques, different kind of use of plant material, and pairing that in a really beautiful way to hopefully give us all something which we can admire and talk about. From a floristry perspective, this year is the first year that they've opened that up for anybody to actually kind of compete in and to take part. So that's really kind of opened up now to what I think will be incredibly interesting to see the different florists that are coming forward all around the country to then actually bring that new level of creativity and just a new, fresh injection of talent. So today we're in the Nash Conservatory at the Royal Botanic Gardens Kew. We have got 90 minutes to set up the most beautiful garden-inspired ceremony. This is now probably the most stressful part of the installation and the job itself. You've got a very short period of time to get everything in. You're working with a natural product, and you're trying to take that from perfection in a studio through a series of vans and transporting and moving around to now getting it all in place. Once you've got this bit done, the fun starts again, where you can dress and actually finishing everything off, and that's when it all starts to come to life and look really amazing. Once they've been marked, we'll wait for the chairs to go out, then we'll stretch them out and put them in their final position, then we'll dress them. Yeah. So we can just pad out there and fill in that bit. We can flick that up. That needs twisting. So what we do here is we group all of the flowers in individual varieties, so it looks slightly more like they've grown this way. I think we've really kind of brought the spirit of the outdoor garden and everything that we can see at Kew with all of the variety of its flora and fauna, brought it inside for the wedding ceremony, and in exactly the same way as we'll do for Chelsea Flower Show, we're starting to really bring that garden spirit in the end of summer to life, as you've got your beautiful kind of like late summer, autumn blooms coming through, the dahlias and everything that's really textural and beautiful. All finished and not a minute to spare. Perfect timing. Really looking forward to Chelsea this September. I think the wonderful thing about having it at a different time of year, it brings us a new challenge, and as florists it brings us new ingredients to work with, new weather to contend with, and new challenges within all of that that will make the show one to remember.
Oh, that wedding looked glorious.
Yeah.
But actually, you know, I've still got my bouquet for my wedding.
Have you really?
Dried all the roses, still in my house.
Absolutely lovely. But also, I think I'm really looking forward to what he brings to the show, because if it's anything like that, it's like, wow.
Wow, it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah.
But listen, have we covered everything, Adam?
I think so.
So we've got the feature gardens, the show gardens, we've got the houseplants, the new cattery, the florists.
Yeah.
Anything else?
All sort of toaster, kitchen sink. Do you know what? There's so much, isn't there? But it's going to be great, and I think it's incredibly exciting. And let's see what the rest of our team are looking forward to seeing.
With Chelsea being in September this year, I'm really looking forward to all those autumnal hues. That's really going to make Chelsea that little bit different.
This year, I'm really looking forward to seeing the trees at Chelsea. It's going to be a whole different choice that comes through, because normally at that time of year in May, we're waiting for all the leaves to come out, whereas this time of year, it's going to be a totally different ballgame.
As a Londoner born and bred, I've been going to Chelsea since I was a small child. I haven't missed many years, so for me, it's going to feel like going home.
The thing I'm really looking forward to is seeing a completely different range of plants. It'll be wonderful, be exhilarating too.
All the hustle and the bustle and the crowds of people, I'm very excited.
I'm really looking forward to one of our own team members' gardens at Chelsea this year, Arit Anderson. It's going to be special.
So, this year's Chelsea is going to be different in lots of ways, but in particular, in the flowers.
So, you've just seen that. What are you looking forward to?
Well, now that we've come off the building site, I can't wait to get back out there on Monday the 20th when it all opens and see the show in its full glory and all pristine.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, early in the morning, walking into the great pavilion and just breathing it all in. The scent in there is intoxicating.
I can't wait. But listen, if you can't make it in person, do not worry, because the BBC have it all covered.
And the coverage starts here on BBC One next Sunday at 6 p.m. when Sophie Rayworth and Joe Swift will be launching the show.
And I'll be here on BBC One every afternoon with Nikki Chapman.
And of course, Monty and Joe will be joining you on BBC Two throughout the week.
Lots of great coverage.
Because there's lots to see. And on that note, I've had a bit of a break from this show. I fancy a new suit.
Ooh, maybe more than one. But I know just the place. Kings Road is around the corner. So we'll see you very soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So what colour are you thinking?
Well, normally blue.